The first thing I noticed when I woke up wasn't the sterile white walls or the industrial bed rails. It was the smell, that unmistakable cocktail of disinfectant, cafeteria food, and despair that marks institutions where people go to be forgotten. My name is Judge Elena Martinez, and at 68 years old, I'd just been kidnapped by my own stepchildren. "Good morning, Mrs. Martinez," a cheerful aide said, bustling in with a tray of pills. "Time for your medications." I sat up slowly, my mind sharp despite the grogginess from whatever they'd used to sedate me. "What medications? I don't take any medications." The aide's smile faltered. Now, let's not be difficult. Your family said you often forget." "Young woman," I interrupted, using the voice that had silenced countless courtrooms, "I am Federal Judge Elena Martinez of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. I take exactly 2 medications, a daily vitamin and occasional ibuprofen. I do not have dementia. I have been placed here against my will, and if you attempt to force unknown medications on me, you will be named as a co-defendant in the lawsuit I'm about to file." The tray clattered as the aide stepped back. I need to get the supervisor." "You do that, and bring the facility administrator while you're at it. Tell them Judge Martinez would like a word." As she scurried away, I took stock of my situation. The last clear memory I had was having dinner at home. Robert and Patricia, my late husband Frank's children, had insisted on coming over to discuss my future. They'd brought wine, expensive wine, which should have been my first warning. They never spent money on me unless they wanted something. The wine, they'd drugged the wine. I swung my legs over the bed, testing my balance. Whatever they'd used was mostly out of my system, but I could feel the lingering effects. My cell phone was gone. Of course, my wallet too. I was wearing a hospital gown and gripper socks, the uniform of the institutionalized. "Mrs. Martinez?" A man in a rumpled suit appeared at the door. "I'm Dr. Hendricks, the facility director. I understand there's been some confusion?" "No confusion, doctor. I've been kidnapped, drugged, and falsely imprisoned. My stepchildren have committed elder abuse, fraud, and likely a host of federal crimes. I need access to a phone immediately." He shifted uncomfortably. "Your family said you might say things like this, that you've been showing signs of paranoia and delusion." "Dr. Hendricks, let me ask you something. Do you know what the penalty is for unlawful detention of a federal judge?" His face paled. "I thought not. Now, I'm going to give you one opportunity to make this right. Get me a phone, call my clerk at the courthouse, verify my identity, because in approximately," I glanced at the wall clock, 2 hours, "when I don't appear for oral arguments, the U.S. Marshals will start looking for me, and when they find me here, held against my will, everyone involved will be looking at federal charges." But the paperwork. Your son showed power of attorney." "Stepson," I corrected, "and I'd be very interested to see this power of attorney, as I've never signed one." Dr. Hendricks pulled out his phone with shaking hands. "What's the number for your clerk?" 20 minutes later, the facility was in chaos. My clerk, James Chen, had confirmed my identity and status. He'd also informed me that Robert had called that morning, claiming I'd had a medical emergency and would be taking indefinite leave. The FBI was already involved, apparently. Attempting to remove a federal judge from the bench through fraud triggers all sorts of automatic investigations. "Judge Martinez, I cannot apologize enough." Dr. Hendricks stammered. The admission paperwork looked legitimate. They had documents, medical evaluations. "Forged," I said simply. "May I see them?" He handed me a folder with trembling hands. There it was, my supposed signature on power of attorney documents, admission forms, and most damning, a psychiatric evaluation claiming I had advanced dementia. The signature was close, but not perfect. Robert had been practicing. "Who performed this psychiatric evaluation?" I asked. "Dr. Reginald Thompson. He's been our consulting physician for years." "Get him here, now." As we waited, pieces fell into place. Frank had been wealthy, old California money, real estate holdings worth millions. When he died 2 years ago, he'd left everything to me, with his children to inherit upon my death, but they'd grown impatient. Robert's business ventures kept failing. Patricia's husband had expensive tastes. They needed money now, not whenever I had the courtesy to die. "Judge Martinez?" A young doctor appeared at the door, his face cycling through recognition, surprise, and horror. "Oh my God, you're really here." I studied him carefully. Young, Asian, earnest face. "Dr. Liu, Kevin Liu? You remember me?" His voice cracked. "You were my mock trial coach at Berkeley. You wrote my recommendation letter for medical school. what are you doing here? Being evaluated for dementia, apparently, I said dryly, although I suspect you'll find my mental faculties intact. This is insane. You're one of the sharpest legal minds in the country. Just last month, your opinion in the Patterson case was cited by the Supreme Court. Be that as it may, I need you to conduct a thorough evaluation, document everything. We're building a federal case, and I want unimpeachable evidence. Dr. Liu, sweet Kevin Liu, who'd once played a devastating expert witness in our mock trial team's national championship, nodded grimly. Should I call the FBI now or after we document everything? After, I decided. I want the full picture first. The evaluation was thorough: cognitive tests, memory assessments, physical examination. I passed everything with flying colors. Of course, my blood work showed traces of sedatives but nothing else. Dr. Liu documented everything meticulously, his outrage growing with each test. They didn't even try to make this look legitimate, he muttered. The supposed evaluation by Dr. Thompson claims you couldn't remember your own name or recognize family members. It's dated 3 days ago, but the symptoms described would have taken years to develop. Dr. Thompson was paid well, I'm sure, I said. The question is how much and by whom. That's when things got interesting. The facility's business manager, clearly terrified of the federal investigation bearing down on them, volunteered their financial records. A $50,000 payment had been made just yesterday for my care, a year in advance, non-refundable. Paid from my own account, no doubt, I said. Actually, the manager said, checking the records, it came from the Helen Martinez Trust. That's your trust, right? I felt my blood pressure spike. The Helen Martinez Trust held Frank's entire estate, the houses, the investment accounts, everything. Only I had access to those funds, or so I'd thought. Get me the FBI, I said quietly. Now. Special Agent Sarah Chen, no relation to my clerk, arrived within the hour, accompanied by a team that immediately seized all documentation. She was young, sharp, and absolutely thrilled to be handling a case involving judicial kidnapping. Judge Martinez, we've already frozen all accounts associated with your name and the trust, she informed me. Your stepchildren made several large transfers in the last 48 hours. They weren't subtle. How much? Approximately $2 million. They also listed your primary residence for sale and scheduled an estate sale for your personal belongings. Were you aware that you've apparently been declared mentally incompetent by the state of California? I was not aware, as I've been unconscious or imprisoned for the last, I checked the clock, 18 hours, though I'm curious how one gets declared incompetent without appearing before a judge. Agent Chen smiled grimly. That's what we're investigating. The court filings were submitted electronically yesterday. The hearing was supposedly held in absentia due to your violent tendencies and flight risk. Violent tendencies? I laughed. I'm a 68-year-old woman with arthritis. According to the filing, you attacked your stepson with a golf club and threatened to burn down the house. I don't even play golf. The deeper we dug, the more elaborate the scheme became. Robert and Patricia had been planning this for months, forged medical records going back a year, documenting a gradual decline that never happened. Staged incidents with paid witnesses, even a few deepfake videos showing me in various states of confusion, though the quality was poor enough that they wouldn't stand up to scrutiny. They hired someone called the Arranger, Agent Chen explained, showing me encrypted emails they'd recovered. Apparently, there's a whole underground industry devoted to relocating inconvenient relatives. Elder abuse as a service, I said disgustedly. How modern. By evening, I was back home, or what was left of it. Robert and Patricia had worked fast. Furniture was tagged for sale, art was missing from the walls. My late husband's study, which I'd preserved exactly as he'd left it, had been ransacked. I stood in the doorway, surveying the damage, when I heard voices from the kitchen. Can't reach the facility. They were supposed to keep her sedated for at least a week. Patricia's voice, high and stressed. It doesn't matter, Robert replied. The paperwork's filed. She's legally incompetent. Even if she shows up, no one will believe her over the court documents. But what if? What if what? She's a confused old woman who escaped from a nursing home. We'll just have her recommitted. Dr. Thompson will swear she's dangerous. By the time anyone sorts it out, we'll be in Switzerland. I cleared my throat. Switzerland's nice this time of year, but they do have an extradition treaty with the United States. The crash of breaking dishes was deeply satisfying. Robert recovered first, his face cycling through shock, fear, and finally, desperate bravado. Elena, thank God you're okay. When the facility called to say you'd wandered off, Save it, I interrupted. Agent Chin, they're all yours. The FBI agents who'd been waiting outside streamed in. Patricia started crying, huge, theatrical sobs that might have been convincing if I hadn't heard her practicing them in the mirror when she was 16. You can't do this, she wailed. We're family, we were trying to help you. By stealing my money and locking me away? You're sick, Robert insisted, even as they cuffed him. Tell them about the incidents. Tell them about how you've been forgetting things, getting confused. Like that time I forgot Patricia's birthday? I asked. Oh wait, that was last month, and I sent her a card and a check for $5,000. Or when I got confused during Christmas dinner? Except there are 12 witnesses who'll testify I was perfectly lucid while you two got drunk and plotted my finances. This is all a misunderstanding, Patricia pleaded. We can explain. You can explain to a federal judge, Agent Chin said, though probably not this one. Conflict of interest and all. As they were led away, Robert turned back. He never loved you, you know. He just felt guilty about Mom dying. You were just the replacement. I looked at him steadily. Frank loved me for 23 years. He loved you too, which is why I put up with your disrespect, your greed, and your cruelty, but that ends today. You can't prove anything, he spat. Our lawyer says. Your lawyer took a $75,000 retainer from my trust account, I informed him. He's been disbarred as of an hour ago and is also under federal investigation. You might want to look into a public defender. The house felt different after they were gone, emptier, but also cleaner somehow. I walked through the rooms, cataloging what was missing, what was damaged. Things could be replaced. Trust, once broken, could not. My phone rang. Chief Judge Williams. Elena, I just heard. My God, are you all right? I'm fine, Michael, angry, but fine. Take all the time you need. Your cases can be reassigned. I'll be on the bench tomorrow, I said firmly. I have oral arguments at 9. Elena, no one would blame you for taking time. They tried to erase me, Michael, to make me disappear into some warehouse for the inconvenient elderly. The best response is to show up, do my job, and let everyone see that I'm exactly who I've always been. He was quiet for a moment. You're tougher than anyone I know. I had to be, single woman, Latina, in a profession that didn't want me. This is just Tuesday. The next morning, I walked into the courthouse to find it buzzing with gossip. News travels fast in legal circles, and the attempted forced commitment of a federal judge was the scandal of the decade. All rise, the Honorable Judge Elena Martinez presiding. I took my seat, looking out at a packed courtroom. Every lawyer, every clerk, every reporter who could fit had crammed in to see if I'd show up, if I'd be myself. Good morning, I said, my voice clear and strong. Before we begin, I'd like to address the elephant in the room. Yes, there was an incident. No, I do not have dementia. Yes, arrests have been made. No, it will not affect my ability to serve this court. Now, shall we discuss the constitutionality of Section 3 of the Digital Privacy Act, or would you prefer to continue staring? Nervous laughter rippled through the room, and just like that, we were back to business. The trial was swift. Federal kidnapping charges, elder abuse, fraud, conspiracy, identity theft, the list went on. Dr. Thompson, faced with losing his medical license and spending decades in prison, flipped immediately. He revealed an entire network of doctors, lawyers, and facility administrators who specialized in disappearing inconvenient relatives. Robert got 15 years. Patricia got 12. Various co-conspirators received lesser sentences. The facility lost its license. The state overhauled its competency hearing process. But the real victory came 6 months later, when the Elena Martinez Elder Justice Act passed Congress. It established federal oversight for guardianship proceedings, mandatory video recordings of competency hearings, and severe penalties for fraudulent commitment. You turned your trauma into change, Dr. Lou, who'd become a regular lunch companion, said as we watched the president sign the bill. That's incredible. It's what we do, I replied. We take the worst things that happen to us and try to make sure they don't happen to anyone else. That's the whole point of law, to make tomorrow better than today. The trust money was recovered. Mostly, the house was put back together. I even bought new art, brighter pieces that didn't remind me of Frank's children. But I also made changes. Cameras throughout the house, a security system that would make Fort Knox jealous, regular check-ins with trusted friends, and a new will that left everything to charity, with a special note explaining why Frank's children would receive nothing but this story as their inheritance. One day, about a year later, I received a letter, prison mail, From Patricia. Elena. I know I have no right to write to you. I know what we did was unforgivable, but I wanted you to know that I think about it every day, not just because I'm in prison, but because I finally understand what we tried to do to you. There's an elderly woman here, sentenced for check fraud. Her children visit her every week, even though she stole from them. They love her anyway. Watching them, I realized what we threw away. Not money or houses, but the chance to have someone who would visit us when we're old and frightened and locked away. You tried to be family to us. We chose to be criminals instead. I'm sorry doesn't begin to cover it, but I'm sorry anyway. Patricia*. I read it twice, then filed it away. Some bridges, once burned, illuminated truth in their flames. Patricia and Robert had shown me who they were. The greater tragedy was that they'd shown themselves too. I'm 70 now, still sharp, still serving on the bench, still living in my too-big house with its state-of-the-art security system. Sometimes I think about Frank, about how horrified he would have been by his children's actions, but mostly I think about the thousands of elderly people who disappear into facilities every year, whose families declare them incompetent to steal their assets, whose voices are silenced by a system that too often values efficiency over justice. Every morning, I put on my robes and walk into court. Visible proof that age doesn't equal incompetence, that vulnerability doesn't invite victimization, that sometimes the people who try to erase you only end up underlining your importance. The gavel comes down, justice is served, and somewhere in a federal prison, two people learn that the only thing worse than being forgotten is being remembered for all the wrong reasons. Court is now in session, I announce, my voice echoing through the halls of justice where it was almost silenced forever. Let's begin.